In race 1 at Calabogie Motorsports Park, Alex Dumas won convincingly over his rival Ben Young to capture his first victory of the season and 5th straight win here at this track. Heading into the finale of the doubleheader, can Alex the Great continue his Calabogie dominance? Hello everyone, and welcome to Calabogie Motorsports Park for race number 4 here in the 2022 CSBK schedule. BMW's Ben Young continues to lead this year's championship by just 6 points over Suzuki's Alex Dumas. As Pro 6 Cycle presents the Canadian Superbike Championships on TSN, brought to you in part by BS Battery and Joe Rocket.
Okay, so the field is out for their first of one warm-up lap. You come off the warmers, and it's very important to go quickly on this lap to make sure the tires maintain that heat. Heat is everything. And let's look at our grid as established Saturday in the BS Super Pole session. Dumas edging Young, Daly a strong effort from Tremblay and Leon. And then when we go to look at the rest of the grid, we can see an awful lot of BMWs, a whole row of them there. Then Bernhard on his Yamaha, then Bergeron, rookie pro, doing well on his BMW. Then 3 sounds like twins, actually all 4-cylinder bikes, but one with a flat plane crank, and 2 of them Ducatis. Now let's hear from Dunlop's Hannah in the pit lane regarding the other Suzuki on the front row.
Thanks, guys. Trevor Daly on the 1-speed Suzuki crashed in race 1. He qualified 3rd in the BS Battery qualification, just 0.9 seconds behind pole sitter Alex Dumas. Now, I talked with Trevor, and he said that they've made some changes to the bike that will help with traction and allow for more consistent lap time. So we'll see. Back to you.
And we thank Hannah for that as we get ready for the start. We will very soon. There we are. We're looking at the Bickle lights right now. The lights. Oh, look out now. Was that Trevor Daly? It was indeed. Will he be penalized is the question. He got off the line a little bit sharp there, Colin. He grabbed a bike length.
A little bit sharp is being kind. He jumped the start, and he knows it. There'll be a penalty. Unfortunately, that happens sometimes. Now Trevor's problem is not just where's he going to go in the race, but he needs to be 5 seconds ahead of whoever's behind him to keep the spot.
Yeah, that was a bit of a miss by Trevor for sure. All he had to do was give up that one position and he would have been just fine. Giving up one position is a lot easier to do than make up for 5 seconds as Dumas now hard on the gas as I head up into the right-hander here, but Braveheart will have nothing of it.
If you remember our start yesterday, exactly the reverse situation, and this time it didn't work for Dumas when a day ago it did. So already we're learning from what occurred in the previous race and making sure it doesn't happen again. Young is in the lead now. A day ago, he'd already lost it.
Dumas has won every race that he's entered here, CSBK races and the Pro 6 GP series as well. So he has definitely got a handle on this racetrack. But I think Ben Young has had just about enough of this dominance that we've seen from Dumas at this particular circuit.
Trevor Daly, after that start anticipation, is a solid 3rd, and then Michael Leon and Sebastian Tremblay, and I think Guerin on the next BMW. So interesting group of people, pretty similar to what we saw yesterday. The question is, will Daly be able to stay close? If you remember yesterday, he was hanging on to Ben Young before he fell.
Yes, he was putting in a great effort yesterday, and but Leon now running back in 4th spot, but he is under pressure from the shakers. Sebastian Tremblay on that Turcotte Performance Kawasaki is closing in on him.
A little closer together this time than the same time yesterday, so that's encouraging that there are more people comfortable with the pace. Don't forget that Dumas was leading a day ago, and here we go on board with Dumas, who is in an uncharacteristic situation. He is not leading here at Calabogie. He leads a lot, and normally if there's anyone threatening him, it's Ben Young. And so far at Calabogie in the last couple of years, and in our series so far this season, it's been a 2-horse race as Dumas looks up the inside.
Oh, yes, I thought he had him there. He looked like he had actually pulled ahead of him at one point, but again, sharp on the brakes is Braveheart. I was going to comment on Dumas breaking into 17, but it It was Ben Young that was sharp on the brakes going into one.
Both of them look like they're being a little more careful with the tires early on, and that may be in an effort to have more tire later. Also, Dumas' move, look at that. We better not talk about that move. Let's see what he's doing right now.
Still not able to make it happen. No, he looked like he was going to, but let's remember, we're very early in this race. We've still got 10 laps to go, working lap 2 of 12, and Braveheart continues to lead over Dumas.
I think it is fair to say, though, that Dumas prefers to lead, which just shows you the maturity of a guy who just turned 20 in his second full season in the championship. He won in his debut last year. Of course, lots of success in the U.S. prior to this, and a well-established team, and he is used to that GSXR 1000. It's his third year riding very similar motorcycles.
Our youngest Superbike champion ever, and I can't help but think there's a lot of American people watching these Canadian races to see how this young lad does back home here after he dominated in the United States of America.
If you're watching the back of this shot, it looks like Tremblay is on top of Leon now.
Yeah,
so last time, Tremblay had a pretty lonely race. This time it looks like he's a little more motivated. And don't forget, everybody learned from yesterday's race. They aren't going to make wholesale changes, but they're going to make some adjustments, and we're going to see how those adjustments play out when we come back.
Closed captioning of the Canadian Superbike Championships on TSN is brought to you in part by Liqui-Moly, Traction Heavy Duty Parts, MotorcycleCourse.com, and Dunlop. We're back at Calabogie Motorsports Park, and we're going for a ride with the reigning champion Alex Dumas, chasing after Braveheart Ben Young on the BMW down into turn number 1.
And remember, these cameras, or they're on board, that are on several of our front-running bikes, are wide-angle lenses. So if it looks fairly close on the camera shot, it is very close. Dumas may be 2 bike lengths back, and right now you can see him spinning the rear tire out of that corner, and this has been his happy hunting ground. He has passed Ben Young several times in this area, and I think he's about to do it again.
Showing him a wheel for sure. Oh yeah, he's got it done this time around, but Braveheart looks like he's going to come back on it, and sure enough, he did. What a beautiful sequence that was. Braveheart wasted no time at all showing him the back end of that BMW.
Let's go on board, and there you can see he's not really working the draft, and boy, does this ever remind me of yesterday, but it doesn't play out the same way. Very similar circumstances. Watch what Young does here. He gives lots of room to the new leader, but he knows what's coming, and he ducks under. Yesterday, he tried this and couldn't quite make it work. This time, I think the issue is Dumas may be slightly wider, but Young absolutely committed to the move, and it was a gorgeous repass.
Well, you talked about the changes the teams may have addressed on their motorcycles after yesterday's race. Perhaps that was one of the changes that Ben Young's team took up. And look, now he's got about a 5 or 6 bike length lead, and I believe that Daly is actually dropping back off from that pace.
Yeah, and the question is, Young's maybe more comfortable leading than he was yesterday, so does he have something to prove, as in does he have some pace? Because right now, when you've just retaken the lead, when Dumas is used to leading here, you need to put the hammer down and see what's possible. Because right now we're seeing the top 2 guys in the series gloves off.
Absolutely. And we talked about the battle between Tremblay and Leon, the fact that Tremblay had been closing on Leon when last seen, and he has captured that 4th place position as we capture our leaders going into turn number 1, and Dumas has a lead again for just a short period of time.
Yeah, big commitment in one there. That is a tough pass to make work, and once again, Ben, lots of discipline. Look at Dumas spinning the tire like crazy there. Lots of discipline from Young, because he just keeps biding his time and getting the move right back. And look at this, shutting the door. And I think Dumas was worried about what had happened on the last lap. So now maybe Young is a little bit in Dumas' head, and that's going to help this race a lot. Yesterday, Dumas eventually pulled away, but we did not see a dispute like we're seeing now. This is the good stuff.
Well, Dumas had pulled over into Young's wheel tracks even before entering that turn, so it was a certainty that he wasn't going to try anything. And I think Braveheart had him covered at any rate.
And here we are in probably the most distinctive and famous part of this track, where so many famous people have done battle, and you could see lots of pace, similar lines. Of course, we've discussed how these 2 guys ride their motorcycles in a very similar way, a very disciplined manner, not too spontaneous, but not making any mistakes, which of course makes it very hard for anyone to find a toehold to try and make a pass work.
Young is riding an absolutely picture-perfect race at this point in time, Colin. He has definitely got control of things, and the way he let Dumas pass him, it seemed, oh no, we've got a rider down. I believe that's Babik. Ivan Babik has tumbled there. tough break for Babic, but he is obviously up and okay.
Yeah, went down a little early, and of course Jordan Royds, the sort of other rising star on a BMW, was hurt yesterday. He's not in the race today, so that's unfortunate to lose one of our top privateer BMWs. And of course we've had a fair bit of attrition. We're missing several of our front runners, and we're only 4 races into the season.
I just had a thought go through my mind. What about the Constructors' Championship here with BMW not having riders to back up Braveheart?
Yeah, it looks like another strong day for Suzuki in the Constructors' Championship, and we'll follow that story as well as our fight for first when we come back.
We are back at Calabogie Motorsport Park, and we are working lap 6 of 12 laps. We're about halfway through this contest, and right now we are watching Braveheart with a very slim lead over Alex Dumas.
How'd you like to be Ben Young right now when Dumas just keeps hammering him on this part of the track?
He's on the move again. This time he got super drive coming down. Has he got it? Oh, yes, he's got it again. This is exactly where he passed him a couple of laps back, and this time he closes the door on Braveheart. There is no return on this one.
Yeah, he made sure there was no room left, and you can bet Ben was hoping it would play out. Now here we go on board. Right here is the key part. Dumas gets such a good drive that he isn't slipstreaming once again, and we've seen this probably 7 or 8 times at Calabogie. Same 2 guys, same situation. We're now on boards with a BMW. You can tell because of the wing. And Dumas, watch, he doesn't use all the line, but he stays inside, right? So there is no option for Ben to pull that beautiful move he pulled about 3 laps ago.
Well, Patrice Goyette has given that youngster a handful of horsepower, and he is really using it to his advantage. Look at him pull coming out of that corner, as that GSXR definitely pulled better than the S1000RR in that instance.
Of course, so much of this is not horsepower, Frank. I hate to harp on this. It's how your computer works, how much you've made the various systems in the motorcycle cooperate or not cooperate, depending on the situation. And you can see there the traction control on Young's BMW very active as the tire spins and the tail just moves very gently, and he would expect that. That would be normal. And of course, 2 different brands of motorcycles, so very different electronics and different people and systems needed to get the most out of these bikes, and we can say that both these bikes are working their Dunlop spec slick tires very well.
Through turn 19 and making that left-hander up onto turn 20, up onto the front straightaway, and at last glance, Colin, Trevor Daly has fallen way behind. He's not a part of this conversation at all. This is a 2-horse race.
And the question is, of course, does Daly have, and look at that Young spin in the tire coming out of turn 1.
Yeah. Has he got that 5 seconds over Tremblay, which is what his penalty was on that jump start. So very interesting observation on that as we continue to observe Braveheart perhaps getting a little frustrated now.
Well, I think right here, Ben wants to see what Alex is doing because it's been so important to how Alex has succeeded over and over again at the track. This track, in that part of the track that we just finished, has been the key to Dumas' domination. And you can bet Ben wants to see if there's something he can do differently. Maybe it's how he's riding the bike. Maybe it's how he's going to adjust the electronics, because they have some facility to change the mapping on their bikes as they progress. Now we go into the most daunting turn, both of them quite tight that time, so you can bet everybody's a little nervous about a move in this section.
Young did close up a bit in that particular section, though. He was definitely in better striking position on Dumas than he was previous. Now, Young twice in this race had Dumas pass and was able to return the favor, but that third pass, it has worked fabulously for young Alex.
Now, this technical part we're in now really seems to suit Dumas. He really hits his marks nicely. Of course, that's where he crashed in our opening qualification session last year, his debut with the series, which was about the worst thing that happened to him all last season. Give or take that bizarre post-race crash at turn 2 at Mosport when these two wound up in a heap when the race was over.
On board right now with Braveheart as we chase after our champion, Alex Dumas, Alex the Great. Let's head down to our Dunlop pit reporter, Hannah Streak, who has more on Alex Dumas.
Thanks, guys. Alex Dumas on the Liqui Moly Fast Cool Suzuki topped qualification yesterday, and he's currently in the lead. Now, if he wins this race, he will be virtually tied with Ben for first in the championship standings, heading into round 3 at the Atlantic Motorsports Park. Back to you.
Thank you for that, Hannah, as we watch our race leader, Alex Dumas, heading down into turn number 1, again with Braveheart on his back wheel and trying to make up that distance. There's your top 5. We'll be right back at Calabogie Motorsport Park. Welcome back to Calabogie as Pro 6 Cycle presents the Canadian Superbike Championships on TSN. Brought to you in part by BS Battery and Joe Rocket. Welcome back to CSBK on TSN. We're going for a ride with our champion, Alex Dumas, on the #1 Suzuki, and we're going through the carousel right now into the final corners of this 20-corner racetrack.
That's WhatsApp, that's what they call it, but let's look a little further back in the field. There you can see Tremblay going through the shot. He's in 4th, but this is the battle we're following. 2 BMWs, the Royal Distributing Bike. Oh, here comes the move.
To the inside, nice pass, beautifully executed pass by Samuel Garand. What a terrific pass that was, and he really opened our eyes up a couple of years ago here when he ran with Jordan Zoke in the 2020 season. So Garand, and I don't doubt that Garand has probably learned a lot from Michael Leon.
Let's go on board with Garand. Here you can see he sweats it out on the inside. Michael leaves the door open. Michael, of course, winner of the most recent regional here, where he held off a number of aggressive attempts in this part of the track. But Garand using all the road, and then he comes out pretty wide, but he's got the speed to make that work. Yesterday, Garand and Leon came very close to one of the biggest accidents in the history of the series. Fortunately, it did not happen. So now we'll see what happens with Garand leading, and if Leon has something to put back on him. And no, it looks like Garand is setting sail after Tremblay. Yesterday, Tremblay was alone. This time, it looks like he's going to get some company.
Always nice to catch the race within the race, and unfortunately for Michael Leon, that didn't last very long. Once Garand got clear of him, he has set his sights. You know what he's doing now? He is looking at that Kawasaki, and he has designs.
Oh no, it helps so much when you can see who you're chasing.
Absolutely.
And look at how much time, when you can see the difference so visibly, you're making up time at a crazy rate. And Garand is working through the new BMWs and trying to get the most of them. He had a bad crash in practice here at the last regional, so he's rebounding from a number of issues, which I know seems like every time we talk about Garand, there's some little problems that he's trying to overcome, but he has good pace. He is an aggressive racer, and this is a perfect situation for him, following somebody smooth as silk like Tremblay.
Absolutely. Garand's a good character too. He's a really good person that we've come to know over the last couple of years. A late bloomer. He ascended very quickly through the amateur ranks and into the pro ranks, and he learned very quickly, and he had no better teacher than number 101, Jordan Zoke.
Yeah, and almost 2 years ago at Mosport, he came very close to winning a Superbike National in the rain, and I think everybody's waiting to see, you know, if Garand or Daly or Leon can become the first of that group to win a Superbike National, not just podium.
Is this wishful thinking, or is he actually starting to close on the shaker?
No, I think he's been closing ever since he got by Michael Leon, and Leon, I think, has decided to pace himself a little bit, but we're getting late. We only have a little over a lap to go, and you just have to stop thinking about the tires and just push as hard as you can and try and get everything out of them. Of course, this is the part of the race when people are often adjusting their electronics, trying to figure out how to get the tire and the lap time at the same time.
One of the key questions, of course, as we wind this one down, is there enough distance between Daly and Tremblay? That 5 seconds that we talked about at the beginning of this race, how is that going to factor in, Colin?
Yeah, I think right now Daly's okay in 3rd, that he's far enough ahead. He needs 5 seconds on Tremblay, and he's about 7. But let's also mention that the race at the front, which was so good for a long time, is kind of dissipated, and we're at a situation where it looks like Dumas is going to continue this incredible streak he has here at this particular track.
Now, when Garand gets up to Tremblay for sure is going to know he's there. He'll get the pit signals, and
well, this is it. He'll be getting it right now.
He'll be getting a glance over the shoulder as well. Now, if Garand starts to push him a bit and Tremblay starts to go faster, that 5 seconds that we talked about could quickly dissipate.
Yeah, and here we are on board with our leader with less than a lap to go. Yesterday, he was really styling in the final sections of the race, spinning the tire, doing some wheeling and having some fun, and we'll see what he's up to now. You can hear the engine working very hard and just the way he likes it, and yeah, a little tiny wheelie over the top of the hill there, but as you can see, not a huge lead over Young, but a good lead, and if this plays out the way it looks like it's going to, this would have them heading to Nova Scotia pretty much in a dead heat atop the point standings.
Well, he's got the smarts to keep this thing upright, you can rest assured. As we having said that, he did get a little bit of slippage coming out of that corner. Now he's got his head down and making up some time on that straightaway and braking again, trail braking into the left-hander, holding onto that lever all the way in, and now grabbing a handful of throttle as he comes out.
Yeah, and this is the section of track they call Deliverance because it's nice to get out of that last section. We have a lot of crazy overtaking happening there. Now you head down the hill into the most technical section of the track, and of course this is the part of the track that Dumas really seems to have mastered. Right here, as they start into this section, is absolutely his best part of the track, and his timing and his precision is so obvious. And yeah, you can see him there, and he hits his marks every time, and it makes him very difficult to overtake.
Well, this is payback for Grand Bend. As you remember, Colin, Braveheart came out of there with 2 wins. Alex came home in 2nd place in both races. This time around, it looks like Alex is headed for his 2nd win here at this racetrack. And yeah, that could very well be almost a dead heat, a dead tie when we come out of this weekend.
And Jordan Zook out due to injury from the preseason in a motocross crash. Thomas Kazaz also hurt preseason, so Yamaha's Top Gun not in this race. And of course, this opens it up for these two to reestablish their crazy battle from last season for the title.
Suzuki, BMW, Suzuki, then Kawasaki. The checkered flag is coming out, and the champion has scored again. He has scored his 6th straight CSBK win here. That is total dominance, Colin.
Yeah, it's a year and a bit ago. His first win was maybe a surprise to some, really not for the insiders, because he had shown such good form on a GSXR the year before in the United States in the Moto America Series. Now you can see the 2 Top Guns are going to celebrate a little bit and probably wondering, how far back is Trevor Daley?
Well, we'll have to find that out to determine our podium, of course, but as we watch our 2 combatants on their cool-down lap now, and we reflect back to that infamous mishap that they had at CTMP last year, I think they got some communication going. They did. They looked at one another and they said, yeah, let's do it. Loft the front wheel and carry it for a few yards.
Do you think they know where the cameras are around this track? Looking at our results here, you can see the established order. Garant didn't get Tremblay, so Garant was 5th, Leon 6th. Bergeron, very strong effort for the rookie pro on his BMW in 7th, and Bernhard, another good run on the Yamaha after his crash yesterday in 8th. Let's hear from our winner.
We have caught up to Alex Dumas as he has staged another dramatic victory here at Calabogie Motorsports Park. Congratulations, young man.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah, it wasn't as quick as easy as yesterday, for sure. I got a better start, but still not too great. Those first couple laps, I just tried to pass him in different couple places. I tried it and I couldn't make it really stick until that lap I passed him in turn 5. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting for the next round and see who's gonna be at the top. I know Ben's probably ahead of me in the points because he led one lap. Yep. But yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting coming out of Shuby, who's going to be in lead for Mosport. So yeah, I'm just excited.
Looking at our points, Dion and Nickerson did not race in Superbike at this round, and Ryan Taylor in his first year on the series doing a solid job in 9th with the Ducati. But it's hard to look away from the top of the standings, 1 point between the Top Guns with 5 races left to go.
And there is our podium with Daly in 3rd, Young in 2nd, Dumas in 1st. On behalf of the entire CSBK crew, thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next time.